Physically, he's a very talented guy. He's always been that way. However, in the last 6 months, and he's really grown up as a person that can use his skill. You know, a guy that's very talented but just is immature and doesn't use it. It's kind of a waste of time. But he's really grown up there, and especially the last couple weeks, his practice routine and his attention to detail is off the charts right now.
When you called the bomb at the end of the Alabama game and Spencer but was that a sign to your team that you're still swinging hard? Was there an upside to that? Would you comment on that whole thing?
Yeah, the question's about the play call, and it was mine. You know, I could blame someone else. It was mine. I thought we could get a PI against Alabama. It was bare, no deep. You're not going to gain a yard against it. So you can say, why didn't you hand off the ball to Ezekiel? And it'd be 2nd and 12. And we did that afterwards, and we ran the quarterback a little bit. And you're not going to gain. There's no chance.
Sign your players.
Yeah, I think they'd expect that. There is no shock. I mean, we've done things before in the past where we take we're very aggressive approach to the game, where there's going after block punts, taking shots down the field, reverse pass right before the end of the half. So I think there might be more shock on the outside, but we'll do it again. I mean, if someone says, "Why did you do that?" we'll probably going to do that again. I hope we're in that situation.
Urban, do you like the look that you see from your guys? I think it's, what is it, like Thursday for you guys, practice week-wise? Do you like the look?
Oh, it's been great. Yeah, it's been great. It's very uncharted waters now. We just went into these are 3 basically championship fights, one after the other. You know, you went from Wisconsin to, in particular, the last one against Alabama, extremely physical team. Our linemen shared with me that was the most physical game they played all year. You know, Michigan State was similar, just the pounding that the offensive and defensive lines take. So we were very smart how we went about our business, but I like where we're at. We're ready to go.
Does this have to be a shootout division scenario for a lower scoring game?
Well, I think Oregon's defense is much, especially the last few weeks, they're playing very well. And the Ohio State defense has been playing very well, you know, to do what they've done against Alabama. And because you take Alabama, our game, the offense put our defense in horrible field position several times. And then they played the best defense that we played, the best defensive football we played in the last 3 years, or maybe the last forever, not forever, but certainly since we've been there against Wisconsin. So I think the defense is for me to predict the score, I don't know that, but I think both defenses are much better than they're getting for credit for right now.
Urban, last week at the Sugar Bowl, your team seemed loose. They seemed not stiff. Can you gauge how they're reacting this week to a national championship game? Has their attitude changed? Are they loose or are they?
No, they're pretty good. I think they, you know, like we kind of shelter them, and the good thing is we weren't in classes. You know, that was a good thing for us that we were kind of locked down and spent a lot of time with them. And loose, I'm not sure that's an appropriate word, but just very workmanlike. You know, loose is, I hear loose, and what does that mean, loose? I think they have a routine they're used to, and they are approaching their business like a bunch of pros right now, which if you're at and hoping to see a bunch of players walk around nervous and tight, I don't think you'll see that right now.
Urban, you said you've learned more from this team than any other team that you've had. What sorts of things have they taught you?
Oh, it's coach speak or cliche or whatever you want to call it about caring for one another. I've done this 30 years. How many teams actually do that? Because it's the dynamics of college football, the different cultures that you just put in a meeting room together, the age group of nonsense from 18 to 22-year-olds, and we all want that team. And you can say, well, the coach put it together. Your coaches don't put that together. You can mold it and work on it, but at the end of the day, these guys, the circumstances that they've been put in are probably never happened before. You know, where you lose your starting quarterback 10 days before, you lose a player like Noah Spence, you have Jeff Harmon. We went our first 4 games without an offensive captain. Both of them weren't playing. And Jeff finally got back, but you can't lead when you're not playing. And then obviously near the end of the season with the things we dealt with, and that's when I learned how they responded to those. It was genuine, because if it wasn't genuine, it would have surfaced.
I know you don't like words like surprise, but all that to look where you're at for you?
Yeah, I don't like surprised either, but it's you have to give credit and testimony or what did that. And the thing I will say this: we've spent an inordinate amount of time on leadership training. You know, in corporate America, you do your homework, which we did. Corporations are spending millions of dollars on corporate leadership. College football is nothing more than a corporate America. Interesting dynamics, and I don't know if anyone's ever spent a dime on leadership training, and we have. We put our coaches through a 5-week program in the spring on Brotherhood of Trust. We put our players through 2 years in a row now, how to E+R=O, how to respond to events, and you know, I like to think as educators that's one of the reasons why they responded the way they did.
Where does Evan Spencer fit into all that? You said the other day he was MVP.
Yeah.
Can you give me, with the adversity that the team had and all of that,
yeah, the question's about Evan Spencer, and I made a comment the other day that if we finish this right, he'll be a write-in captain at the end of the season. And that's not charity, it's not a gift, it's something earned, and there won't be anyone in the Woody Hayes that would question it. He recovered the onside kick, he threw the touchdown pass, and he knocked 2 guys down on the block. So on the field, it's obvious, and then off the field, what most people don't know is he's kind of the glue. You know, he's such a great leader by example. Everyone respects him, and he's the MVP of our team.
Trussell called that the catch of the game, one-hand catch of the onside kick.
I'm sorry?
I talked to Trussell. He said that was the catch of the game, one-hand catch he made on the onside kick.
Oh, it's unbelievable. If you slow it down, it's, and I'm glad we have those sticky gloves because it looked like it stuck to his hand.
Coach, people have talked a lot about the time you spent with Oregon. I think mostly when Chip was there, rather.
All when Chip was there.
College coaches are very free with other coaches. Did you learn anything in your time there that might help you?
I think that's changed. You know, there was a day where even we would open the doors. We don't allow people come in. You know, we very selective because you work really hard at your trade, and you know, I know Mark, but I don't know him like Chip. A lot of respect for Coach Helfrich and Coach Frost and just the offense. But more than offense, I went out there just because of the culture that Chip was. It was unique. I kept hearing about it, and I talked to Chip all the time. You know, he used to go on the Nike trip with me, and we'd always go separate ourselves for a couple days, and I'm, you know, always trying to learn. And then the year off, I went out there and spent a lot of time, and then I went out to the bowl game. So I know Coach Kelly actually asked me to speak to his team one time. You know, so we've shared a lot of ideas. I want to say Chip came to visit us at Utah and Florida. So that's been going on for a long time.
Get anything that might help you on Monday night?
Oh, I think not so much Monday night, but I think just there's certainly things in our program that we've used from what we learned from Oregon.
You said the further you get along in the week, you get a theme. You talk about workmanlike. What's going around in your head in terms of mentally what's the motivation?
Well, it's currently, I mean, this morning Mick and I went and sat like we do on the Bob Newhart couch, I call it, and we went and sat off in the corner and talked, and there's no better person for me to have conversation with than Coach Mick. I mean, he knows our program, he knows our team. He spends more time with our players than certainly I do and our coaches do. And he has a unique way about his business. So we're not where we need to be exactly knowing what we're going to do, but those conversations will continue today.
Who says zero? The team's coming home.
Oh, he thinks we're in really good shape.
How different of a coach are you now?
I'm sorry?
How different of a coach are you now after the year off, and how much more dribble is this game having gone through?
I don't think the question's about how much different. I think during the season it's very similar. You know, I've tried to make sure, and it's not just me, I want to make sure our players enjoy the journey. You know, these kids have been on a heck of a run for the last 3 years. And I just, you know, I'm more cautious about making sure it's not just an absolute grind. And someone asked a question one time, when does the joy of winning disappear and the fear of losing or the agony of losing overtake that? And when that does, that's not good. That's not good for anyone. So I make sure that we enjoy the wins the best I can and our coaching staff can.
Well, JT will be playing Monday night. Talk about what he meant to this game.
JT Barrett? Obviously a Texas boy and a guy that comes from about 3 hours from here. tremendous leader, came out of his shell this year, incredible amount of respect. He's still very valuable to us right now in helping Cardell, as is Braxton. Braxton's been great. So there's a unique camaraderie on this team that, like I mentioned before, is unlike any other.
Urban, what about their quarterback, Marcus? Now that you've had a week or so to look at what he does, does he compare to anybody that you've had or played against in the past?
Oh, I haven't really thought about that. You know, I think his athleticism is very similar to Braxton Miller. I think he's a sub 4.4 player that plays extremely fast like Braxton. I think his skill set is a lot like Braxton, so probably Braxton Miller as far as skill set and just taking over a game when with athleticism.
What are some other things that jump out to you when you watch the rest of the
Their defense. Their defense and their return game. You know, that's where I spend most of my time watching their film. Dynamic athletes like they had. You know, I remember I watched them in the bowl game against Kansas State, and they brought a kick return back for a touchdown. They're just athletes all over the place. And then their defense. Their two defensive ends are high draft picks, and they play a style of defense where only those kind of body type. Because we tried to do it, and it's called odd four eyes, where they play the two defensive ends in really unblockable positions, but you have to be because you'll get washed down if not. And to find that 6'7", 290 guy, we've been looking for a long time too, and they've done a good job finding those two, the two 44 and 9, I believe their numbers are. Just great players.
Urban, when you sorry about that. Urban, when you guys beat Alabama, that meant a lot, not just for your program, but for the conference. And I know you guys can't put all that on your back, but it was there. And when you were on the field after that, it felt like you won a Sugar Bowl, and it felt like you won a national title. And then the T-shirt said "Won, not done." How have you wound this team? You had them so perfectly prepared and ready and focused for that game. How did you go about getting them back for this one now, 11 days?
We're going to find out. You know, it's still, obviously, it's only Thursday of game week, so we're still got some time. It was all about preparation after that game and putting a schedule together. I've made a comment many times. It's very important for Mike Bennett and Ezekiel Elliott to get back on routine, and there's every obstacle in the way to disrupt your routine. So that's our focus has been all about that. The practices have been much different, you know, just because of the wear and tear ever since the Big Ten championship game, you know, and then I really saw it against Alabama, because that was the sledgehammer game that you have to be very cautious. And so I believe we were. I think we handled it the right way, but it's to be determined.
Was there a point this season that was a turning point? Did they learn that they were national championship caliber?
I don't think. You never know that. There's too many variables. I think I made the comment the first overtime against Penn State was in my opinion, was the turning point. When I saw a team that didn't play very well. You know, I don't want to take anything against Penn State because Penn State's got a fine team, but the script was written. We should have lost that game. I mean, it happens every year where a team loses a lead, doesn't play very good. Every excuse in the world to lose that game. A quarterback playing on a sprained MCL, offensive guard freshman that didn't play very well, and they found a way to win that game. And that's when I personally walked in the locker room after going, that could have been a program changer for us.
Are great moments more rewarding when you have the entire family around you?
My personal family?
Yeah, you're all I mean, you had all 5.
Yeah, that's special.
Was it always that way or no?
Oh no, it's always been that way. Yeah, that's the.
How much do they mean to you?
No, that's the world to me, and they know that. They're the first ones that. It's a dead sprint to the field. I remember in '06, Nate was a little guy, and Shelley tells a story that all the wives are down in the corner, 3, 2, 1, and he takes off, and she can't find him. He's trying to find me. So there's some great stories, though. Great stories. I heard our players say thanks for the college football playoff, and that's real. We would not be in it, either would Oregon. I think the other 2 schools, Alabama, Florida State, would be playing, and we were all part of the BCS for a long time, and I think it's the closest thing. You got a bunch of people trying to do it right, and it's an imperfect way to do it, but the more I'm in it now, this is the only way to do it. You can't start adding more games. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
There was a lot of debate about who deserved that spot. Obviously, beating Alabama just confidence you're getting in. Is there a carryover to this game to just further solidify the Big Ten strength?
Well, there's a school not too far from here. The head coach is a very good friend of mine. There's a lot of people that think that, and they probably should have, you know, TCU I'm talking about, and they played great in the bowl game. And so I think as long as, once again, there's an imperfect, unless you go 64, which it's just completely different. So I think, you know, there's going to be a time where Ohio State or someone's going to be left out, and I think the way Gary went about his business, Coach Patterson went about his business, it showed that there was no excuses, and they went and played great. And I think that's a responsibility of whoever's in that situation. That's hard now, because there's a bunch of players and coaches think that maybe they should have been in the playoff.
Ezekiel said that he can't carry the ball really with his left hand. If you had a running back that you count on that much that can really only go with one hand?
Oh, I don't think so. You know, I know he's been dealing with it all fall, and I know his wrist is causing some issues, and so I don't think, to answer your question, no, I don't think I've had that.
Does that add to kind of how impressive his season?
No, he's the best. What adds to him is his selfless approach to the game. If you remember a year ago, he was one of my main guys on kickoff. He started his career on punt, and he's been, you know, that's a credit to mom and dad. Now he's been. We'd like to take credit for that one. We got him like that. That's a mom and a dad that taught their son the right stuff. He came in a very selfless approach to the game.